every transaction, and they can't forge coins, right? Because they're still subject to the Bitcoin rules. But they can steal your coins, they can trace you and break anonymity, and of course denial of service applies. Then there's coin join using multi-signatures, using the current Bitcoin functionality. Very interesting idea, very elegant, especially since it's doable without extensions and despite the current limitations of script. But you still have the problem of having to trust participants for every transaction, and anonymity can be broken, and denial of service still applies. With ZeroCash, the current one, you only have to trust the setup. If the setup is corrupted, then forgery is possible. This is the only of these four where forgery is possible, but only that extreme case. And with the PCB-based ZK-SNARs that are down the road, we'll be achieving all of these properties. So you don't have to trust anyone, and therefore there are no failure modes due to trust. And it's also, it doesn't have any centralized system that's resilient to denial of service.
If you're familiar with them, would you care to contrast ZeroCash with any of the altcoins that seem to be positioning themselves as privacy technologies? The two that come to mind the most are dark coin and something that I think is called Eran, which is based on something I've heard called crypto. I don't know if you're familiar with one or both.
So I think there are at least half a dozen emerging altcoins that claim to provide privacy features. I looked at some of them, and one troubling thing is that it was hard to figure out what they do exactly.
Yeah, it can be a problem. Yeah.
That is definitely a bad sign. We went through a lot of length to publish very detailed specification and detailed analysis, formal definitions and formal proofs. I will not trust any system that doesn't do it.
You were a little fast when you were talking about how the payer all of a sudden no longer knows the serial number. Can we take a quick look at that?
Okay, let's repeat that. So the question was how the payer knows the serial number in our latest and greatest key, which is this one.
No, the one where there's a red, yes, this one. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so the payer doesn't know the serial number. That's actually a goal of this design. We added some extra mechanisms here, specifically the pseudo-random function, the derivation of the serial number from some value.
So what's the sentence now when they're sending? What's this? What's the sentence that I say when I'm sending? Because before I used to say that I have the serial number.
Okay, so in order to send the coin, you just send the internal values, all the hidden values here. You send them to the payee. Now they have full control over the coin, and they can prove any statement, any true statement about it. And in particular, they can prove a statement of the flavor we had before. Let me go back. That they are talking about some CN that is in the Merkle tree, and they can reveal the SN, and they can reveal those internal values that now they know, and prove in zero knowledge that all of these are consistent, but according to the new coin structure. So this is what the recipient would do after they know all of the values, and that would be included in the poor transaction. This is the part of the poor transaction that convinces the verified transaction checker that the poor transaction consumed a valid coin owned by the recipient.
But if I'm paying you though, I have to know the coin that I'm paying you with, right?
But you don't know everything about it.
Okay,
you know some of its values, but not all of them. Some are only meant for me to know. So if you created a coin that's addressed to me, then you don't know everything there is to know about it.
Okay.
It is a bit surprising.
Wait, but then once I send it to you, you know all the values.
Right.
So when you send it to someone else, then
Excellent. So I can't send it directly to someone else because it really is addressed to me. See, it has my public key
okay.
as part of the commitment. So what I would do in order to send it to someone else is to use the pull procedure to consume this code and create a new one with the same value.
And you don't know the serial number then.
Right, and I would know the serial number of the new coin addressed to the third party.
Thanks.
So when you say that if the setup is not trustworthy, then what can happen is the setup person can forge coins. But at the same time, in the concrete implementation, I know that this technique is not tethered to Bitcoin, but if we imagine the implementation that you described, where the construction of coins is linked to consuming Bitcoins or redemption of coins get back into Bitcoin, is that a fair characterization?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat the last sentence?
So normally when things work, nobody's cheating. To construct a zero coin in the concrete implementation, you've been describing someone you consume Bitcoins to construct zero coins, and then you can work in the zero coin economy, and then eventually if you want out, you can redeem back into the zero coin economy, into the Bitcoin economy, excuse me. So I'm wondering what would happen, suppose we have Alice and Bob and a merchant, and Alice was the trusted setup party who was untrustworthy. And both Alice and Bob have one Bitcoin turned into zero coins, and so they spend their two zero coins to the merchant. But then Alice makes up a third zero coin. She forges one and spends that two, and then the merchant wants Bitcoin back. Is what going to happen? Is the third one is going to fail? Or?
Excellent question. So basically, you're asking a deep question about if you do this integration. This means that you can create Bitcoins by consuming ZeroCash coins. So if ZeroCash fails, the Bitcoin goes down with it. Because you can now create fake Bitcoins by first corrupting ZeroCash and then converting those fake ZeroCash coins into Bitcoin. So there are different ways to go about it. One is to create a currency where this is an acceptable risk. It may not, at least initially, be the Bitcoin, but probably some altcoin. Alternatively, you can set up an escrow pool, the backing pool for the currency. And you would know that every Bitcoin converted into ZeroCash isn't burned, but rather sent to some escrow pool holder, or perhaps virtually so using a cryptographic mechanism. And then when you convert ZeroCash back into Bitcoin, you go into that pool and extract the corresponding Bitcoins through a suitable transaction. For example, a transaction that verifies the snot proof and then issues a payment. If Bitcoin were Turing complete, you could do that in a fully automated way. In this case, the failure mode is more gracious. If you could corrupt ZeroCash, then you could empty the escrow pool and therefore deprive ZeroCash holders of their money. But the damage would be capped at the value of the escrow pool, and it wouldn't cause any further damage to the Bitcoin economy. It will go up in a few days.
On the Skipper site?
Yeah.
The transaction confirmation process, I understand it's really short, but is the computation required for that? Is that a possible target for ASIC development, or is that more of a general computing?
So transaction requirement certainly should be done by the recipient of a payment to make sure that the payment is legitimate. Moreover, in the distributed ledger protocol, everybody checks transactions. When you construct a block, you check transaction. When you propagate, you check transactions to make sure that junk doesn't float around and get embedded into the blockchain. So actually, that's why we did that benchmark on EC2 to make sure that the dynamics of this propagation don't have any pathological failure mode because of a few milliseconds worth of delay.
I was just looking at the slide now. Is the serial number still needed?
The serial number will be used in the zero knowledge proof and in the revealed transactions. So the serial number must be exposed when the coin is consumed, because this is what marks the coin as having been consumed, and therefore prevents double spending.
Okay. Can you just use V, P, R prime, R double prime as APK?
I'm sorry?
Can those 5 values just be used instead of the serial number?
Which values?
Like V, P, R prime, R double
okay,
prime.
let's start with V. You don't want to reveal things. When you do a pool, you don't want to reveal the values of the coin that were consumed or created, therefore you don't want to reveal things.
Okay. What was the previous, what is this, the previous slide? What do I broadcast when I'm just paying you? Which numbers, which values do I tell you?
So
PK, R prime?
when you pay someone, you don't.
Nothing, I think, is a big deal. Nothing is.
So okay, it depends on which mechanism you use. If you use the out of band version, where you just send these values on some external channel, then you don't broadcast anything except these values. Of course, you need to have to create this code using the pool operation, and that broadcasts some associated values, in particular the coin commitment of this new coin. If you use the baked-in crypto, then you still don't need to send anything in addition for the send. In addition, you don't have to send anything in addition to the transaction created by the corporation, because in that case, the secret values will be encrypted to the public key owned by the recipient, and they'll be able to decode them there. So these are these ciphertexts. That's why they're here. This is the pool transaction that created the coin with this coin commitment, and here's the ciphertext that allows the recipient of the coin to use it.
I guess the thing is, the recipient is the one that does more of the verification. Is that right? Yeah. It's like in the early on, right? You always announce that, hey, I can provide these values, and people can check that those values match.
Yeah.
Now people are not really checking values. The recipient is the main one who checks the values.
The recipient checks everybody checks the transactions for the validity. The recipient, moreover, checks a few other easy properties related to the content of the ciphertext. First, he checks whether he can decrypt this ciphertext, whether it's really addressed to him. And if so, then he checks the internal consistency between the public coin commitment and all the things that were encrypted in the ciphertext, which could be junk. He has to make sure they're not. This is a very easy check.
Okay, any last question? I think we can keep going for a long time here, but I think we're gonna stop it here. Any last question? So I think that it's a wonderful technology. It's a privilege to have you here. It's a privilege to have Andrew as well. We enjoy this very much. So let's thank. That if people want to talk with you, you'll be available for a little bit now.
Similar.
What did you
guys are on. Jet lag.
We're running a little late because of ZeroCash release.
This stuff is amazing. I had very high expectations. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the trip because we spent a lot of time trying to make it understand.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. It's online, it's on When did you start getting involved in the lab stuff? Last year? It's kind of, I wonder if this technology would be as exciting from the blockchain as an like, zero knowledge is very exciting by itself. But it's applied on a blockchain and expands the opportunity of blockchain to interact with it.
I think it's like a very nice coincidence that this technology happens to have come to fruition at the same time that you are you're right, that we would amplify our effect, especially outside the Silicon Valley. That said, we're all pretty confident that even outside the blockchain maybe like a safer slope to find there, because you have